Everyone knows that Disney is great for kids and families, but what if you're going without kids? That's today's topic. This is episode number 44. I'm Sariah.
I'm Debbie.
I'm Lucas.
And together we're just
your average Disney travelers. All right, so I want to welcome back my sister and brother-in-law who were here for episode, I think it was 16 on Valentine's Day, to share with us their Disneyland proposal story. But they're back. They're giving Aurora a week off. Again, she loves those weeks off. I think it's funny. But we're going to start with something that you started, Debbie. I've got a would you rather. And you can answer this together or separately, whichever you prefer. But all right, would you rather Disney open up a new 5th park at Disney World or a totally new United States location?
Oh,
Totally
new location, somewhat not in Orlando, not in Anaheim.
That's an excellent question.
I know, I had a hard time thinking of one for you guys.
I think I would rather a whole brand new location, especially if it was in a state that I really wanted to go to or liked. There's some states that I'd be like, this is gonna be a struggle. But that's what I think. And I can name some states.
I have a different opinion. I think I'd rather Disney World do a 5th park because I don't want to have to go to
more trips.
three different states to get my Disney fix.
I know it's already split up, and then you've got Aulani and cruising, and it's like now we're adding a whole new destination, and then there's all the international ones, which you guys have done some of, and so it's like, man, that would be just adding one more that you have to check off the list frequently.
Yeah, but I mean, what a bad thing to have to do.
I know it wouldn't be like the worst trip ever, but it would just, it would make it easier to stick to the locations that we know.
That's true. And you already are familiar with those, and so it works. But yeah, I'm kind of torn on it myself too. I think I think it would depend on where they're opening it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I mean, like, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
No, but like, what if there was one in
where would you want it to be?
New York?
Could you imagine
Hawaii?
Though that they get so cold up there and snowy? I just don't see that happening. I think it would have to be in the South.
But it's so hot and sweaty.
Hawaii.
I know. I've always figured if they were going to do it, Texas, like San Antonio or something, where they
would make.
They have sense. A SeaWorld there already. Yeah. And I mean, not they, but there is one already.
Right. There's a SeaWorld there.
Yeah.
It probably makes the most sense. But I mean, there is like a Legoland in New York.
Yeah.
So I'm saying
that's true. I mean, in Pennsylvania has that, what is it, the Sesame Street play one? I can't remember what it's called.
And Hershey.
Yeah, something.
Hershey Park or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called.
I wonder how they do in the winter. I don't know. Anyways, I figured it was a good question. It was worth asking.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Okay, so we introduced you guys last time when we had you tell your engagement story, your proposal story. But this topic, we're talking about going to Disneyland without kids, and really, I guess any Disney park without kids. It could be Disney World as well. I think we both have done both with and without kids. Do you want to? What would you like to share about your family situation, about why you're, when you're going with kids and when you're going without?
Well, I love going. Let me just say first, I love going with our daughter, and I love going without. So I have a daughter, Molly. She's 11, from a previous marriage, and so she's with us half the time. So we find times to go with her, and we find times to go without her, and they're both special, both unique, both fun. So I don't know if you want to add any.
Yeah, I think like we basically enjoy the best of both worlds of having a kid and not. Having her 50% of the time is great, and then we're able to also do adult things without her sometimes. And what we found, and some people laugh at us, but Disney is definitely a fun place for adults to go as a couple. Without children, there's a lot of fun things that you can do, and that's what we've enjoyed. I think we both equally like both ways. I don't think we have favorites.
I think people who've been there with or haven't been there before at all have a hard time imagining why adults would have fun there. I think people who have been, even if they've been with their kids, they can see it, they have fun, so they know that they could, but then I think they often will feel too guilty to go without their kids for some,
yeah.
And I have felt like that at times.
And I could see that. I know that really it started for me was for work purposes that I went when I went without my kids. And then I kind of kept going without my kids when I got chances to go with friends or family like you guys. And so I've done both. They've gotten used to it.
Well, and the way we see it is like we definitely make sure, aside from COVID, that she can go with us at least once, if not twice a year. She also goes with her mom, usually once a year. And so it's not like she's missing out and not going. So if we were to go over and over and over again and not take her, we would definitely feel bad because that's not fair. But we're lucky that we're able to go quite a bit. And so that balances it out where it's not like she never gets to go and we're always like, haha, we're going without you.
Yeah, here's a t-shirt that says my parents went to Disneyland and all I got was this rotten t-shirt.
But like right now, we've gone twice now since they've reopened, and we haven't taken Molly yet because she's not vaccinated yet. She wouldn't be comfortable on an airplane. She wouldn't be comfortable with all the people around. And it's not just because we don't want her to be there. We know she would be uncomfortable. She's already let us know that. She even said to me after the first time, I'm glad I didn't go.
Yeah.
Especially after describing the airplane ride to her.
Yeah.
So she was happy.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, she wanted to be there and missed being there with us, but she was happy not to go. So.
And thankfully she knows that there will be more chances. She will get to get back when she's comfortable and ready and we're vaccinated. And so all right. Okay, so how, and I've got a few questions here. I know I sent them over to you so you're ready for them. There's no surprises here. But if it does, or if some of these may or may not apply, but when you're going without a kid, without children, without your daughter, how does that affect your pre-trip planning, or does it?
I think the only thing that really changes is sometimes we'll look for different places to eat that are more adult friendly. I don't know what the
we did, or
it's a little bit more sophisticated when it's just us. We have taken Molly to almost all the same restaurants. I don't think she's eaten at every single one.
No,
but we know that she enjoys certain restaurants more and would not quite enjoy some of the ones that are maybe a little too fancy for her. Or,
I mean, there's some that are even a little too fancy for me. So,
and also based on her food preference and what the menu options are. Luckily, Disney is very good at making sure that there's something on there for kids. Almost at every single restaurant, I think there's something that she would eat. But, we are more likely to do a character breakfast if she's with us, although now she's getting older and maybe doesn't even care about those anymore. But we've rarely done a character breakfast just ourselves, because that's something that's a lot more enjoyable with a kid.
Right.
I
don't know if we have done one by ourselves.
We've definitely done at least one.
Have we?
Yeah.
Oh, we did. I think we did Tusker House by ourselves in Disney World.
I don't remember.
I can't remember either.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. Right. When it's just us, we'll often make maybe one nice reservation. We often do things like in downtown Disney, not just in the parks, because there's some restaurants we really enjoy there.
Yeah.
When we're with her, we'll choose things that are a little bit faster so that we're not maybe sitting at a restaurant as long, where she'll get a little bored. We're a little bit more so those are the reservations that we'll make in advance. Beyond that, honestly, we're not planners.
Yeah, I mean, we've both been so many times now that we don't feel the need, even with Molly, we don't feel the need to rush around and get on every single ride every single time, because
everything fits into a schedule to hit everything.
I mean, we probably could do it if we really wanted to, but we don't need to.
Yeah.
I think the only other pre-planning thing is we will try to plan I don't know that, have we taken Molly to the Grand yet?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Oh, we stayed with our DVC.
But we've done like a spa treatment at the Grand, at their spa. Obviously we wouldn't do that with her because she would be bored. But those kinds of things we'll plan ahead and schedule because we know we're just going to relax. I think we've done a spa there once or twice.
Once.
Definitely want to do that again.
Well, it's opening soon.
I know.
Yeah.
So like those are the kinds of things where we'll kind of think a little bit differently, but we don't plan all that much in general. We just kind of go and we just go.
Yeah. And I haven't found it changes a whole lot for me either, except that I think when my kids were younger, I think that's when I did a lot more preparations, planning. And it wasn't so much of, so it's more about the younger kids. Yeah, I would do more planning because, there's a lot more that you have to make sure you're bringing, that you have things that are going to entertain them. As they get older, that's not really as big of an issue anymore. And then also I think too, if this was something that you don't do very often, you are going to be a lot more structured probably. But when you get to go frequently, it's not really. Right. So I feel the same way that we really don't, it doesn't really affect, especially not now that Aurora is older. We don't have littles anymore. Okay. So I think I know the answer to this for you guys. But how does it affect how you get there? Or does it?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No matter what. We fly every time. Some people are like, why don't you drive? But
because you guys are about 6 hours drive.
We're about a 6-hour drive. I get car sick, so I would have to drive the whole way. Would not be enjoyable. We'd be tired. Yeah. So we've always opted to fly. Southwest usually has affordable deals, and we do that with and without her every single time. I think I've driven maybe twice. I don't even think with you.
I don't think we've ever driven together. I've driven many times. And when I lived in Los Angeles, I would obviously drive.
Sure. Yeah.
But as a kid, we would drive down, stay with friends in Long Beach, go to Disneyland, and then go do other things. Yeah. But as an adult with the two of us or with Molly and we fly.
Yeah. Does it affect how you get from the airport to your hotel? Nope, doesn't affect that either.
No, we pretty much always Lyft. I think we've rented a car once or twice when we were visiting a family member.
Oh, we did do
there.
That,
yeah. And one time we did a cruise with Molly in San Diego and then drove to Disneyland for a day.
Right.
And so that time was a little different. We rented a car in San Diego and drove. But pretty much if we're flying in and just going to Disneyland, we just get a Lyft. It's easy. It's cheap, especially the more people you have, the cheaper it ends up being per person. Yeah. Because you're not paying per person on those. But
so for me, if I'm going with anybody else in my family, I will usually drive, as long as now that we're 6 hours also from there. But if it's just me by myself, I will usually fly.
Yeah.
So for me, it does make a difference, but it's not even just about whether it's kids or not. If it was my husband and I going, we would probably still drive because we're cheap and frugal and it's less expensive to drive and we don't really mind too much. It's a fairly straight shot for us. And so it just saves us money that way. But but with and I mean, if Aurora was littler, younger, maybe I would prefer to fly if it was just me driving. But even though she can't drive yet, she's old enough now that she can keep me awake if I'm starting to get tired or, she's entertaining enough.
I think we also because we're always trying to get a lot of bang for our buck on how much time are we taking off, working around school schedules. We usually go for long weekends on a school holiday.
Right.
And so
that time matters.
Saves a little bit of that time so that we're not spending all the time in the car.
Yeah.
So I think that's just how it's worked. And since I did the drive, I think it was once with friends, and on the way home, I just thought, I'm never doing this again. It's too long, and flights with Southwest are cheap enough.
Yeah, it is
not
nice.
An advertisement for Southwest. We are not sponsored by Southwest.
I know. It's I wish I was, man. I love Southwest. That's what we use too. But okay, how about where you stay? Does it change where you stay?
The only thing that changes is which Disney resort hotel we stay at, whether it's the Grand or the Disneyland Hotel. And we, excuse me, we have stayed at the Paradise Pier, but that's not our favorite.
Yeah.
So we're either going to stay at the Grand or the Disneyland
I
Hotel?
think we're more likely to stay at Disneyland Hotel with Molly because of the pool, mainly the slide. Molly and Lucas love the monorail slide.
Mhm.
I like it too. I'm not a big water park person, and I'm not big on water slides, but that is a really fun one.
It is.
The grand pool is great, but the slide is not nearly as exciting. The pools itself are just, they're just pools. So I think if we were thinking about her spending time at the pool, that helps us lean towards Disneyland Hotel. It's also a much more fun Disney theme.
It is.
than the
It's
Grand.
great for kids.
Yeah. So we kind of like that. I mean, I love the Grand just for proximity, and that's
so
my style.
convenient. Yeah.
But when I imagine going with Molly, it's more often Disneyland Hotel.
Yeah. For us, I don't know that it really makes a difference. Again, what matters to me more is if my husband's with me, because we usually will stay off property. But if I don't have my husband with me, I want to stay as close as I can. So I'm just literally walking across the street. I don't want to have a very long walk because, even though most of the time you've got plenty of people on the street with you, I feel safer with my husband.
By yourself.
Yeah. And so, so we usually will stay pretty close. And it's less of a factor of whether I have kids with me as to, although I think that if Ryan and I were go by ourselves, we haven't yet gone to Disney by ourselves. We're overdue for that. We really are. We do get away trips together, but we haven't done it to Disney yet. And I could see us splurging, and because it would probably be a shorter trip, like you're saying, like weekends and stuff. And I could see doing one of the Disney hotels because it would just be nice and convenient, and I don't know, feel more appropriate. I don't know, but we also are just fine staying across the street or whatever. So yeah. Okie dokie. How about your daily itinerary? Like in your park, in the park, does it affect, I mean, because whether you have kids or not, does it affect how you're doing the parks?
I think it does.
Does it?
I think, okay. So if you
probably more so even when she was younger, most likely, I'm gonna guess.
When she was younger, for sure.
For sure.
We would have certain rides that she really wanted to do when she was younger would matter. Character meet and greets were really important when she was younger.
Bobbity Boutique. We did that once.
Bobbity Boutique.
Yeah.
So doing those things that now we are just like, okay, we don't need to bother. Like,
been there, done that.
Occasionally we'll meet a character. Usually we just take photos from afar because it's like, we don't need,
sometimes
unless it's a very special character. We don't generally stop for them. Even with Molly, now that she's getting older, she doesn't care so much either.
No, she just likes to see them, and we wave at them.
We spend less time in rides like Fantasyland and Toontown because she's older and enjoys the bigger rides now too. But when she was younger, we certainly did that. And now we'll do like maybe one Fantasyland ride when we're there together, and it's usually because I'm enforcing it.
It's usually, well, we usually do a couple because we do Peter Pan and then we do Storybook Canal.
Yeah, we like to do Storybook, but we won't spend a whole bunch of time there. And we almost, I don't know the last time we even went into Toontown. I think it was when we went with your family and we had little kids.
Yeah, when they were younger.
So we usually not avoid, but we just don't go into areas that are more geared towards the littles because there's not really rides that interest us as much.
Yeah.
So obviously the younger kids, if we have families that do, then obviously that does become a much bigger priority. And there's that juggle between the rides that the kids want, but figuring out how to do the rides that the either bigger kids or just adults want and all of that. So it does become more of a juggle.
Yeah, it is nice once they get old enough to like the same things. Molly loves thrill rides. She loves all the rides that we like. And so it's like nobody's like, I don't want to do it. Nobody's, having a struggle. We're just all having fun. I will say prior to virtual queues at 7 a.m. We also, when we're just the two of us, we don't always go at opening. We will get a later. Somebody likes to wake up earlier. I don't mind sleeping in. I don't need to go in for any like magic mornings. We will occasionally when they had them, but it wasn't like we need to be there at opening. We need to get in there like a rope drop. It was more relaxed. Even with Molly as getting older, she is an early bird. And she doesn't want to just hang out in the hotel until 9 o'clock.
She's there to go play.
So we do tend to go earlier into the parks with her. But without her, we do take breaks and go back to the hotel and swim or nap or something So it's mostly the mornings that are different when
Different,
we're
yeah.
separate.
Well, and the last couple of times we went, because of the virtual queues for Web Slingers and Rise of the Resistance, you know, we get up. I have the alarm set for 6:45. We wake up and we're ready.
We're sitting there on our phones ready. And at that point we're awake. So it's like, why not go into the park and have fun when it opens at 8? So you know.
But then we, like Debbie said, we go back to the hotel and we
Take a break.
the pool for a little while. Get something to eat.
Yeah.
Take a nap maybe. I usually don't, but
love naps.
But Debbie does. But then we go back and have more fun.
Yeah. Do you stay as late when you have her, or do you stay later with her than you know?
I think it depends. There are times when we're with her and we stay later,
but not by much.
But usually we're all pretty much done about the same time.
Yeah.
We all, and
That's
I
good
think
that you're
it
all
goes
in
back to the fact that we go pretty frequently, so nobody feels like, oh, if I miss the fireworks this time, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Right.
There's no like, oh, we really need to go get in this long line because I'm never going to ride this ride again. It's more like, when are we starting to feel tired and how many more days do we have? Because we know tomorrow will be better if we go to bed.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we've had a couple of trips where we've all overheated because it was the hottest day on record in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And we've had some meltdowns and we're way past that now. But
yeah, thank goodness.
But there was a couple of trips where that happened. And
yeah.
So we all know we
kind of know to listen to our bodies. And if we're tired, admit you're tired, we can take a break or go back to the hotel.
And I think that's important for people to do anyways, because it's so much more enjoyable. I think that one of the mistakes that people make when they go to the parks is to push to get and they feel like they have to do it to get their money's worth or whatever. Yes. And I've always, when I still travel, I would try to tell people, if you're having a good time, you're getting your money's worth. It doesn't have to be what checklist somebody else said you need to do when you go. It doesn't have to be like every minute, every day. It's that if you're enjoying the moment you're in, and if you're making sure that you're able to enjoy future moments that you're in, because taking your breaks and whatever, then you're getting your money's worth because you're having a good time and it's going to be better all around for everybody involved. You don't wear out your kids and have those meltdowns as much. You might still get some, but not as much. And that makes everybody happier.
Yeah. And we would have those conversations of like, I know that we want, like everyone wants to keep having fun. Like nobody wants to stop having fun. But the question is, if we go back to the hotel and go to bed now, will we have more fun tomorrow?
Right.
Than we would have struggling through tonight. And that's what we've kind of all agreed on as we go. And so I think that's something that's been really easier as she gets older. It's something that we've always done when it's just the two of us, and then helping her learn. And that's a maturity thing with any kid, because it's hard to tell a 5-year-old that, but once they get older, they start recognizing that and making those choices too. And so it's been a good,
right. And like we said, Molly's been going since she's a year old. She doesn't remember the trip, but I didn't really take her for her. It was more for me to see her. She's seen pictures of herself, but she remembers probably, starting at 4 or 5 is when she starts to remember. But so she remembers the meltdowns and she knows.
And we've had those conversations of like, remember what that was like. And it's learning.
It was.
We don't have to get into that.
Yeah, that's typical.
Learning how to deal with it, and that's the taking breaks and taking it easy and not pushing yourself. And I agree, it's getting your money's worth is not about how far can you push your body and how long can you stay in the park. Although we did try to do a 24-hour day. It's more about like enjoying the moments, and once it's getting harder to enjoy, like go lay down. You can enjoy tomorrow.
And even especially when it is a once in a lifetime type of thing, just enjoy what you get. And because what a shame if it ends up that your memories are full of negative experiences and feeling tired and cranky and
pain and all this, or maybe hurting yourself because you did push yourself too far, or
not being able to do the next day very well and missing out on that. So my next question, I think we kind of really already answered, because it was about dining. And we talked a little bit already about the pre-trip, because you have to make reservations for a lot of things like that. Is there anything you would add? I mean, you said that you do tend to do more character meals with kids. not as many without, more grown up?
I think we
meals without?
also I think we try to schedule for sure reservations when we're with her, or at least kind of have ideas, because again, that helps avoid meltdowns when everyone's eaten.
It's planned
So
and it's not
knowing
gonna.
that we have a plan, or at least even if we don't have reservations, knowing, okay, if we're going to be in this area at this time, let's, as we're going, let's think about what are food options around here, because number one avoider of meltdowns is everyone being well fed.
And that's not just for children.
That's right.
No, you're right.
So yeah, we definitely.
But I would say one of the best restaurants for that is Hungry Bear. We really enjoy that as a family, and then just the two of us, but excuse me.
No worries.
He has a cold, sorry.
Sorry, we're making you talk.
It's okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
I was just gonna say that Hungry Bear has a lot of great options for everybody. Plus, they have a lot of seating
in the shade.
Yeah. Yes.
So everyone can kind of sit down and take a break for a minute, relax, recharge, and then get back at it. We also have found, and I know not everyone likes to spend as much money maybe as we might on food, but we will stop for snacks too. We'll get a churro or something, anything like that helps recharge and kind of get everybody back.
We will try to get all the snacks.
Yeah, well, that is one of my goals that I like to do, is how many snacks can I get? But yeah, I think we just make sure that we're being more mindful. I know, like our last trip, one of the days we did terribly eating, and we would not have done that with Molly, because it was like we forgot to eat certain meals.
We wore down. We were worn down. Very quickly.
Well, and it's a matter. It helps with keeping energy and attitude, everything up, but also just keeping on a schedule is really smart with kids, anyways. And so and so much gets changed when you're on vacation anyhow. So making sure that you kind of, if you normally eat around a certain time, try to keep at that, so that makes sense. Okay. So what about experience, like extra experiences you might do while you're either at the parks or maybe at the resort or whatever? What does that change the experiences you choose? So you mentioned the spa.
Yeah, so we definitely have, we use the amenities of the hotel more when it's just the two of us. Like Molly loves the pool, but that's pretty much the only thing she uses at a hotel. But we'll use the spa. We do a lot of shopping when it's just us. She'll do some shopping too, but she gets, she's gonna not want to spend as much time in a store looking at the same things over and over again.
But we do a lot.
We do a lot of shopping when it's just us, whether it's window shopping or shopping. But we also, what was I going to say? There was something I was going to say.
Shopping.
Oh, tours. Oh, yes. We have yet to do a tour with Molly. I think there are some that she would like as she's getting older. I think she's more likely to start being interested. With a younger kid, I can't imagine doing.
There's so much walking involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have enjoyed as a couple doing multiple tours at Disneyland, and we've done some at Disney World, and learning the history of the parks and kind of being in that more like just something that a kid might find boring. Right. We really enjoyed. So it was a nice way for us to spend time in the parks doing something different that we hadn't done, learn about the park and the history and more about Walt and whatever the tours were on. And that's something that I think, depending on the age of the child and their kind of like threshold for walking and boring talks, that's not something that you can do with little kids.
That's a really good time to do something like that. Yeah.
I mean, she is getting to the age now where she's more interested in that, but it's still a lot to take in.
They usually are for a few hours. Mm-hmm. It's not even just like for 45 minutes or something like that. No, it's like a 3 or 4 hours usually.
And you're because it's 3 or 4 hours, you're giving up doing rides during that time. Mm-hmm. Although some of them do offer like walking onto rides during the tour. So it's like something that a lot of younger kids are going to be like, I would rather go do 3 rides than do this tour. Sorry. Yeah. So it's something that as she gets older, we'll probably ask her if she wants to start doing any of them to participate. I don't anticipate her wanting to do a whole lot of them even still, because again, that's a little bit more of a like mature
geeky
thing that she
I qualify.
Right. Anyway, it is. The last time we were in Disney World with her, which was with you, there were several tours that we had talked about, but she unfortunately wasn't even old enough at the time.
Yeah.
So that was another reason why we didn't do tours with her.
Because some of those she would, I bet.
she
Oh
would.
yeah,
with
especially
animals.
in Disney World with the animals, I would imagine she would love. And the one that we did, the Sense of Africa one, I think any kid would enjoy if they're into animals. I think you have to be 10 and up for it.
Which she would.
Which she wasn't at the
It was-
time.
yeah, just
And
shy
so when
of-
we did it, it was really great, and we definitely will do that with her in the future. So some of them are fine for kids, but any of the ones, especially in Disneyland, I think a kid would be bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the animals. I mean, they might have one. I don't know if they still have it, but
They used to have a treat one.
where you can. Well, there was the one where you can go see the horses. But I don't know if that's still
Like,
around.
I know for a while they had a music one, but they've gotten rid of a lot of those.
Yeah, I don't think there's a
not
lot
very
of
many
tours going
anymore.
right now.
And hopefully eventually some of those come back. But okay, so what would you say overall some of the pros and cons of going without children? Sorry.
I think that the pros are that you can be very relaxed. You don't have to worry, you don't have to worry about hitting any favorite things, because like as an adult you can rationalize and say, okay, it's totally fine, we don't even have to bother trying.
No, with kids.
No, without, like just the two of us. Like we can just kind of like be very relaxed, loosey goosey, go with the flow. So that would be a pro there. A pro with a kid obviously is there is something magical about seeing a kid at Disneyland. The younger they are, the more magical it is.
I agree.
And sometimes it's even true when it's not your kid. Like we've seen some pretty cute interactions with other
or
children.
even strangers. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also it's there's also something special. Just walking down Main Street or down one of the streets, holding my daughter's hand.
Yeah.
And just
Well, and seeing
looking
her
at the
enjoy
balloons
and
everything.
sharing things that we love with her, and I mean getting family photos of doing things together is always fun. So there definitely is something magical about that.
So you miss that a little bit when you're
Yeah. And occasionally we'll be like, oh,
indeed.
Molly would have really liked this. Like something stupid. Like last time we went, he saw one of the cats in Disneyland. And that's something that Molly would have really enjoyed because she likes cats. And so
I send her a picture.
It's like there's these little moments where we're like, oh, Molly would have really liked this. There's also other times where we're like, okay, this is so much easier because we don't have to worry about a child.
Right.
You don't have to worry about losing a child because if he gets lost, he can find his own way around. It's fine. So like that is relieved. I think a con. I think the pros just prove the con. Like there's things that you miss, but there's things that you also enjoy. So like
Yeah. And I mean, I will admit that my daughter's pretty close. She's pretty much out of it. Although she talks about always wanting me to get her stuff, but she doesn't really beg and whine and cry about things like that anymore. And she's outgrown the toys.
Yeah.
Her toys are more expensive now. but I definitely, being able to go without having anyone begging for everything they see, all of the light things and the bubble things. And
oh my gosh, the bubble things and the lights.
So, Molly, she's pretty much out of that now because what we do now is she'll have her own money.
Yeah, we have her save her allowance, or she earns money that she can spend. So she is learning, to spend her own money, and then she's a little bit more wise about spending it. Because
that's pretty much what we're
very
doing now
wise
too.
about
Yeah.
So, but yes, I will say from the young age of kids always wanting stuff, that can be annoying and difficult if you don't have the money and you want to get. So, I mean, I can see that being a struggle in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I remember our first trip to Disney World, which was right after we got married. And Molly was 6.5. We went to the Magic Kingdom and we got her one of those bubble ones. And she was so excited to get it. And then immediately it broke.
Oh.
And, the bubble.
There's just like bubbles,
liquid.
Like liquid squirting out.
Yeah, it was. So, I mean.
And it's things that you're like, do we really want this? Like, how are we going to get this home? It's going to be messy. And what are you going to do with it at home? Like, you can't rationalize that with a 6-year-old. They just want it. It looks fun. And so it's like things that you're just like, okay, this is kind of a waste of money. We don't want this, but she's enjoying it in the moment.
Yeah.
And we've gotten her some of the light up things at a parade. And then it's like, who knows what happens to those when we get home.
Yeah.
I mean, and when we go, just the two of us, I still bring her back something.
Yeah.
Nothing huge, but
just something so she knows you're thinking of her.
Yeah, like this time there's the Disney Nuimos, which are little
I have one somewhere.
little figures based on Japanese animation, I believe it is. And you can dress them up in clothes, and she had seen one, and
here's one for her.
Here's one right there.
So cute.
So yeah, we got her that, and then we'll usually get her like a pin or two here or there, because we're into pins.
We'll do pin trading for her when we're there if we see one and think she'll like.
Yeah.
I will say that's actually kind of a little bit of a pro, is it's kind of fun to shop for her and surprise her when we get home.
Right.
Versus when she's there. I mean, she does enjoy it and stuff, but it's kind of nice to be like, here's a little extra surprise that's not for any birthday or anything special.
Right.
She couldn't see it coming. She doesn't know what it's going to be. Yeah.
And I mean, we don't usually get her very much at all. It's usually like, 2 or 3 small things.
Yeah.
So it's not like we even had to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's just like a nice little token for her when we've gone.
But she does appreciate it, and she, enjoys seeing it. Like when she comes home, it's sitting on the bed and she gets excited. And, that's always nice.
Okay, so do you have any tips for people going without kids? Like, what would be your biggest tips or tip of what you'd tell people who are preparing to go without children?
One thing is, you still want to take your breaks. Still relax. Don't think that that's just like, naps are not just for kids.
Yeah.
So taking a break and going to the pool is totally fine. I would also just say, like, definitely look at some of those opportunities that you can't do with your kids. Not just the things that you enjoy, like the rides that you enjoy, but like look into the tours. There may be things that you would want to do that you could not do with them. Or, an experience like that. The spa, things like that.
There's also, a few places where, you can go and taste wine now, or things like that. So if you're into that, and neither of us really are, but you can go to the wine terrace or even Oga's Cantina in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, you can have a drink if you want. And some people, like, I mean, I'm not going to judge anyone if they wanted to have a drink with their kid too, but I also think that it's a nice way to enjoy it without having your kids there when you're doing that. I'm trying to think what else.
I think one thing also is, if you're going to, go to a nicer dinner at Blue Bayou or Carthay Circle, make sure you get reservations early, because especially now with the reservation system, and there's, I don't know
limited capacity.
what the capacity is at these restaurants.
It's harder to get.
They're extremely hard to get. We tried to get Blue Bayou on our last trip a couple weeks ago, and we could not at all.
So
there's other things that need reservations. I can't think of any at the moment.
But so if you're doing one of those extra things, or one of those is something you're doing that you wouldn't normally do, really plan ahead. And then those, I think, are still 60 days in advance, I believe.
But I will just say this, whether you're with kids or not, those 60 days, you need to have it on your calendar.
Got to be on it.
I was on there 60 days ahead, and Blue Bayou is booked because of their limited capacity. Other restaurants we got into just fine. Some of them it took multiple attempts to look for, and they either opened up more or people did cancellations. But we definitely always keep to that kind of timing. And then I would also say, like, don't rush around thinking that the only thing to do is riding the rides. Like, we find little like places that are special to us, and we like to go there every time, like where he proposed.
We'll go walk by it every time.
There. We like to like look back on memories of times that we've spent there with and without her. And so it's more of a like reminiscence trip where you're just kind of like, remember when we did this? And we just take it slow. Like, it's much slower without a kid, because we can just kind of stroll and enjoy and people watch. So I would say, like, don't only think of Disneyland as the rides. There's so much.
I know a lot of people who kind of tease me and say, "Oh, you're an adult. Why do you love Disneyland so much?" But it's not all about the rides
or even the characters. It's something else.
It's something else. There's something there. It's some kind of magic thing that.
And that's what I found. I found that there's still magic there, whether you're there with the kids or not. I think that magic can be different. There's definitely still magic there, and it's so neat to be able to go and have those different experiences when you get that opportunity.
And what I've noticed too is, like, cast members obviously love little kids
Yeah.
and they're so kind to them, but they also can be very kind to adults when you are kind.
Yeah.
Like I've been there for my birthday several times, and you know, the really nice treatment we've gotten just by walking by with a birthday button. Like we've gotten like walk on into rides that we didn't like this last time we got shortcutted onto Smuggler's Run.
Yep.
Because I had a birthday button and they just were feeling generous. So I think like
we basically got to do the fast pass line, even though there were no fast passes.
Right.
So like in like looking for like just to be a happy, positive person, and they will like also treat you like a little princess, just like the kids. So looking for those little magical moments, they don't happen only to children. So I think being open to that, and part of it I think is being a fun-loving, young at heart person, because I think they can sense that. I think they can tell how excited we are and how happy we are to be there versus
if you're
trudging around,
you know being a grumpus and you know, oh, these lines are so long, oh, this is so expensive, oh, this is, you know, too many people. That's not, first of all, that's not a way to go to Disneyland.
No.
But the cast members will also, I think, pick up on that, and they're not going to want to interact with you as much as somebody who is excited to be there and happy. And I mean, yes, I don't like waiting in lines, but I know that it's part of Disneyland.
It is.
And that's what you do.
Well, you can find fun things to do in line too. People watching and looking at what buttons people have or pins they have.
But we're also good now at finding when to go on a ride where there's no line.
Yeah.
Which is also easier without kids, because if a kid is like, I really want to go ride Dumbo, I really want to go ride Dumbo, you kind of have to go ride Dumbo. Right. But for us, it's like, okay, Dumbo's line is, you know, 45 minutes. Let's wait. We'll come back later, you know, so we're able to do that. Oh, and I think one other thing is, and it's kind of weird for me to say, but this last trip we went on, we actually ran into 2 different groups of people who randomly just kind of talked to us. And so we spent time sitting at a restaurant, talking to strangers, getting to know them.
It is weird.
Which we never would have done with a kid, because she would be bored. And also like, we don't really encourage talking to strangers.
Right.
But, you know, we were able to get to know a few different parties and what they were doing, and talk about what, you know, how they like to Disney, how we like to Disney, what we have in common. And it was really kind of fun to spend. I mean, I think at the cantina, we were there for like 45 minutes or so, just chatting with this group of people.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was just kind of fun. So
you know,
I think that's another
fun.
thing.
And, you know, it's not something that we would normally do, and you know, it's a little surprised that
I'm not a like
you
I don't
wanted
like people.
to do that, but we had a great time doing it. And you know, one of the couples, we had something in common where we both had worked in television at one point, and so it was kind of interesting to, you know, talk to him about that, and how we both are huge Disney fans now, and things like that. So
we talk about like which parks that we've been to, and which, you know, who's been, like, I think one couple was a DVC member and they had not yet been to the Alani, I think. And so they were asking us, you know, it was just an opportunity to talk about things that they had experienced that we haven't yet, and things that we've experienced they haven't yet, and just share tips for things with somebody who, like, in real life, we don't know them, but we have so much in common, because clearly we're groups of just adults going to Disneyland. So clearly anyone who's adults going without kids, we have something
in common already to start.
So it was kind of fun to get to know some people and have
an experience you wouldn't have had otherwise if you had Molly with you that time.
Exactly.
So all right, well, thank you so much for coming on and being my special guests again. It's fun to have you. We will continue to have you to do different topics and talk. It's fun. I know you guys love it just as much as I do.
You do.
I you might love it more than me, because I just can't. You guys love it so much. It's hard to imagine it being loved more than it is loved by you guys.
Love it so much.
I don't know anyone else who loves it. I mean, as much as we do, to the point where I get teased a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
It's all good. I won't tease you.
No,
I'm literally called Disney Debbie at work. So
Disney Debbie, that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a thing.
Well,
It's
we're gonna wrap up, but thank you again, and thank you everyone for watching. And if you're going with or without kids, there's gonna be magic. So just go and have fun. And if you get the opportunity to go without kids, don't feel too guilty. You can do it, and they will be fine, and you will have a great time. So, anyways, thanks. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.